Okay, now we're into chapter 3, which is the individual differences in second language acquisition, where we can begin to consider the fact that every student has a different learning style and different things are going to work for that student. They have different learning styles, which will lead to different strategies of how to learn this foreign language, and including their personality types. And their personality, typically people talk about extroversion versus introversion, or they think of a shy person as having difficulty learning a foreign language, which actually is not true, because we find that, if you're a very talkative person, of course, that will give you conversation practice. But quiet people tend to study a lot, put a lot of time into it. They don't really need all that social interaction, so they can be really successful too. But we do know that although over 99.9% of people are very successful learning their first language, not as high of a percentage are successful at learning a foreign language. But there's a lot of reasons for that. It could just be the opportunities that someone has to take classes, or if they live in a bilingual community. It's not necessarily a reflection of their language learning ability or knack, the knack they might have for foreign languages. But we are interested in what characteristics seem to lead to success. What type of people seem to be successful at learning foreign languages? We often think of people who like to travel, people who like cultures, as kind of being real motivated to learn foreign language. We don't often think of the math, science, engineering type people as being as interested in foreign languages, although a lot of times they are. The only problem is if you approach foreign language very scientifically or linguistically, then that can be hard, because it is hard to memorize language, no matter how hard you try. Language is more complex than that, so it can lead to failure. We also know that students who are very good with most of their classes, sometimes the foreign language class is like their stumbling block, because it's that one class that they just can't seem to memorize everything for the test, which doesn't sound like the way we want to approach language learning anyway. Sometimes the military may want to test people to see if they seem to have a knack for foreign languages, in case they want to be used as a spy or something. Or even sometimes in their career workshops, maybe there'll be these sort of personality tests that try to pinpoint whether you have that language learning ability, or if you're trying to choose a major or something. So they have exams for that, but they're not really highly reliable. A lot of times, I'll talk about those a little later, but usually it's an exam that presents to you either a fake language or maybe a very obscure language, and it tries to see if you can figure out the grammar or figure out some of the spelling rules, or in a short time. It's supposed to show whether you're good at possibly learning a foreign language. You have the type of mind for it. And of course, motivation becomes important. The reasons certain people have more motivation, the age that you have a chance to start. If you have the chance to start when you're younger, you're going to have an advantage, there too. And with English, it's kind of hard to know when someone really starts or when they started learning English, because often kids in other countries have exposure to English when they're real young through TV shows or the internet, whereas with other languages, like if I want to study Italian, I can very specifically say pretty much when I started being exposed to Italian. But with English, it seems to be there when you're young. And also, we think of foreign language as a choice. Like, I want to learn this foreign language. Of course, for a lot of people, it's not a choice, because they have to immigrate, or they're refugees, or they have to learn English. So that kind of takes away some of the motivation as well. And okay, so Getting into the second part, the research in learner characteristics, starting on page 77. Again, motivation is a big one that researchers are interested in. They know that motivated students tend to be more successful, but they want to know, like, why are they motivated? Or sometimes it's backwards, like they're good at foreign language, so that motivates them. So as far as cause and effect, it gets a little bit tricky to say. We can correlate two things, like we can correlate motivation with success, but we can't really say like it's a direct cause and effect. And so that's called interpretation, how we interpret these results. And it's also hard to measure a person's motivation, just as it's hard to measure how extroverted someone is versus how introverted they are. Or it's even hard to measure intelligence. We have this IQ test that's supposed to measure intelligence, but we know that it's not necessarily a predictor of that. And even if it is, because language has two aspects, it has the kind of grammar vocabulary aspect, which someone intelligent may have some advantages with, but you have the whole communicative interrelational aspect, which is not usually measured by those type of analytical skills. And it kind of reminds me of the nature versus nurture argument. In other words, is someone naturally good at learning languages genetically, or was it nurtured somehow by the environment, the educational environment that they grew up in? And that argument as well. As far as intelligence, on page 79, when we talk about a student being intelligent, oftentimes we're looking at their grades, and a lot of traditional education is math and language based. And a lot of students who have other skills, like in music and in the arts, or maybe just people who have great people skills, sometimes they're not rewarded in school by having necessarily good grades, but they have a type of skill which could be called a type of intelligence. That was popularized by Howard Gardner in 1993, the multiple intelligences idea, MI, which is trying to look at intelligence, not just math and languages, but whether someone seems to have musical skills and things like that. And okay, so those are some of the ideas from the first section. And what researchers are interested in this, because being able to learn a foreign language can open up all these opportunities for a person, could open up schools, could open up careers. So it is important to us.